Hey everyone. Today is day 11 for Math 133 and share my screen. So today is we're going to cover the sample midterm, and then on Wednesday is our midterm exam. So it's coming up really quick this week. So um I'm pretty behind on grading. I had some issues this weekend. Two tires got stolen off of my car. So, yeah, I know, crazy, right? So, been talking with insurance and police and everything. So, I'm going to work on getting caught up on grading today. So, anyway, today though, we are going to go over the sample midterm, and I want to make sure you get all your questions answered before the exam. So, for those of you who are taking it with me on Wednesday, make sure that you are able to show I need to be able to see your screen during the entire exam. So you're going to need a webcam or on your phone where I can see your screen. I can see your workspace, so I can see you're not, on your phone. I need to be able to see you. Um, and what'll happen is once you have joined, I'll send you the link to the exam. You can either print it or you can write your answers down on a blank piece of paper, okay, and then submit that. Um, for those of you coming to the testing center, uh, there are some data sets that you'll be able to use in Google Sheets as well as in StatCrunch. So on the midterm exam, you're going to get a paper copy that'll look like this. At the very top will be a link that you're going to want to carefully type in. So once you know, type exactly what it says here, so https:// just make sure you type it exactly, you know, and it'll bring you to a page that it might take 10 seconds to load. It might say like this is bit.ly and it's bring you up something, but it'll bring you here where you can click on these and it'll take two links that'll take you to StatCrunch as well as to the Google spreadsheet. So when you get to StatCrunch, make sure that you have your sign in. So your sign in is going to be your Jackson College email. Make sure you have your password though. So if you come to the testing center, can't bring your laptop, which might have your password saved on there already. So maybe you need to make sure that your password is written down on the paper that you're bringing. Remember, are allowed to bring 8.5 by 11 piece of paper front and back, as well as your yellow exam notes packet. Okay. All right, great. So, let's jump back to what we're doing today, which is the sample midterm. So in Canvas, if I click on the sample midterm, there's a couple links that we'll use to get to StatCrunch and Google Spreadsheet, but the sample midterm is on page 385. Page 385. The sample midterm is 14 pages, which is quite a bit. So we're probably not going to be able to cover all of it today. So you're going to need to work on some of it on your own. Elaine, were you guys able to work on any last time we met?
Just the first page. So
Okay,
we did
great.
cover the first page of it last time.
All right, great. So then we can start on the second page. Awesome. All right, so in that case, I don't need page 385 because you guys already looked at that, but I'll make sure I write my name on it. Okay, there we go. All right. So, we're going to start on this page. And Like before, we will start with giving you some notes and some hints, and then we'll stop the recording and we'll jump in and work through as much as we possibly can. Uh, so on page 386, um, let's see. Does that look good? Yeah, okay. Um, Actually, I'm going to skip page 386. You guys can do page 386 without my help. I think you guys got that. Page 387. Um, so page 387. Um, so the following frequency distribution shows the average TIMSS science scores, okay, for a random sample of countries. So this is my sample. I have a sample of countries, okay? So when they ask what's the population is related to your sample. The population is just all da, 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 all whatever. So if you write out like the sample is a sample of countries, then the population is all countries. Okay. Hopefully that makes sense. Um, Most of this, you guys, we've covered this kind of stuff before. I think you guys know how to do this. When we get down here and we talk about interpret the mean and the standard deviation, that's the give or take script. Okay. Okay, let's jump to page 388. Right. So page 388. Um, so Here we're asked to find all of these different things for this data set. Okay. Now this data set, you're not going to want to type all of that in, so you'll be able to find this data set over here on StatCrunch. Okay. So it's let's see. So areas of state. Okay. Oh wait, where is that? Oh, is that in the Google sheet? Oh, that's right. I was looking at the wrong thing. I need to close that. Right here, area of state. So this is a long data set. Okay. So, previous data sets, if you really needed to, on test day, if you needed to like type in this data set, you could do that in Google Sheets, but you're not going to want to type all of this in. I have some questions on the chat. How many questions are on the actual exam? So the actual exam is going to be 9 pages. The sample exam that we're going over right now is 14. The uh, Each of our worksheets in the past, like our chapter review worksheets and our uh, our cumulative worksheets, those were 4 pages each. So we were usually able to do 2 of those in a class, so 8 pages, so a little bit more than that. Uh, the exam is going to take most people around 2 hours. Are we going to be given answers to the sample midterm? Uh, yeah, so I'm going to be going through and grading as much as I possibly can today and tomorrow. If you've already turned in the sample midterm, I'll make sure that I get that graded. If you turn it in on Wednesday, um, it'll be a little more difficult for me to grade it before because you guys are going to be taking the exam Wednesday morning. So if you turn it in Wednesday before 6, well, you might have already taken the exam. So and then Elaine said that she's going to cover a lot of these questions, so that's great. So, okay, so I think I answered all the questions in the chat. Okay, so here we have it in StatCrunch. So, and this is the raw data. So, jumping back over to the actual um, worksheet. Um, so all of these symbols are in your course pack, and you're probably going to want to, if you have difficulty remembering what all of these mean, like what's mu? I don't remember. you're going to want to write that down on your 8 by 8.5 by 11 piece of paper that you bring so that you can uh, don't have to because you're not going to be able to have your course back. You won't be able to look it up. So for today, you can look it up on pages 5, 61, 68, and 83. You can look it up on those pages. Okay. Um, for
I did have a quick question.
yeah, go ahead.
So what's the capital N in the StatCrunch? Would that be the sum or is it the population size? Or I don't know. I
That's
couldn't
the
quite figure
that's
it out.
capital N is the population size. So if capital N is the population size, what would lowercase n be?
Well, I know it's the sample size, but I guess like in StatCrunch, I didn't know which. There wasn't a population size in my options.
Sure. And the reason for that is StatCrunch doesn't know whether you're giving it a population or a sample. And it doesn't care either. When you run StatCrunch, it's going to give you n, and all n is it's counting how many things you put in. So basically, all you're really doing
Okay,
here is you're counting how many numbers there are. So uh,
right.
if you just write whatever you get
So
for
that's
n,
how I got. I think I got sum
yeah,
or the little
that's
n
just
or something
yeah. The only one that really matters.
because the squares counted to 50.
Sorry, what's that?
I said because I mean the little squares counted to 50, so I was like
Yes.
just curious. Okay.
Yep. So, yeah, it is 50. So, because this happens to be all 50 states. So, this is not a sample of states. This is the whole population. So, sometimes you do have the data for the entire population. Sometimes not. So, the only one that matters. So like when you put in StatCrunch and you get the mean, it doesn't matter whether it's X bar or mu, it's going to tell you, here's the mean. Well, you can just write that here. It's going to give you how many numbers there are. You can just write that here. The only one that actually matters is the standard deviation. That's the only one where you are going to have different numbers from StatCrunch, depending on if it's a population or not. With a population, you want the unadjusted standard deviation. Same thing with variance. You want the unadjusted variance. So when you run a bunch of numbers through StatCrunch, it's going to give you, so here we go. So summary stats, columns, and then area of state. And I want all the stuff. It's going to give you a whole bunch of different numbers. This is how many numbers there are. It doesn't know whether it's a sample or not, so you just have 50 numbers. Mean, that's your X bar. The only one that's different is you have a standard deviation and an unadjusted standard deviation. Here, you do need to use the right number depending on if you're looking at a sample or a population. Since this is a population, we want unadjusted. And your unadjusted will always be a smaller number. Population standard deviation is always going to be a smaller number than a sample standard deviation, just by a little bit. And it's because you're dividing by n minus 1 divided by instead of dividing by n. It's not a big difference, but it is enough that you'll need to pay attention to that. All right. Hopefully that was a little helpful. So I have another question in the chat. What's the actual exam questions be on from the sample exam? Yeah, exactly. So all of the questions that you're going to see here on the sample midterm are going to be very, very similar to the questions that you'll find on the exam. Okay, so upper and lower fence. If you don't have that formula memorized, make sure you include that on your 8.5 by 11 paper that you want to bring with you, okay? Or that you're going to have with you on the exam. So those are on that formula is on page 84. All right, next page, page 389. It's still continuing with the area example. So these are for populations. Okay, so we already mentioned that. So find that on page 61 and 68. Um, Page 87, we talk about the different types of central tendency and spread measures and which ones are better than others depending on the situation. Okay. If it's symmetric, you want to use mean and standard deviation. If not, you want to use median because it's less affected by outliers. Uh, Percentile, there's a script for that in our yellow packet on page 231. Okay, part K. So, all right. Page 390. Page 390 is pretty easy. I'll let you guys work on that one. Let's jump to page 391. We're kind of jumping around a little bit because first of all, it's a big worksheet. There's a lot to cover, but also a lot of this is stuff we've already covered, and I'm only really going to give you hints on the ones that I think you're going to struggle on. So definitely number 7. This is all about regression. Okay, the least squares, regression line, and uh, you know, mean median mode is probably stuff that you've worked with before. You might even have dealt with probability and things like that. Regression lines can be very confusing. So make sure you pay close attention to how to answer these questions. Page 233 is all about regression lines, what those mean, what the scripts are, what you click on in StatCrunch to be able to get them. Okay, and this data set right here, you'll find it in the same StatCrunch right here, club head speed, distance. So using those two, you'll be able to answer all of these questions. Okay. All right. Page 380, 392. The other reason I'm kind of jumping through these really quick is I want to give you guys as much time as possible to work on them together and get through as much as you can. So, all right. So find y if x equals 106 using the linear regression equation. Interpret this. So interpret this value. So it's really these values, the x comma y values. Um, there's not really a script. You want to use logic here. So um, use logic with x and y. Okay. Um, Whenever we talk about the y-intercept, sometimes we'll say like the y-intercept does not make sense in this context. And that's usually because it's not 0 is nowhere near the data that we're looking at. Here's another example where, okay, we're not looking at the y-intercept. We're looking at, okay, y equals 325. Find out what x is. Explain why this value is not likely to be trustworthy. So there's not really a script for that. It just, you need to look at the table, use some logic. So look at the data table or the numbers in StatCrunch. Okay. And it should be pretty clear. Um, data, sh data shows there's a strong positive relationship between the cost of a person's car and the cost of their home. So here my X values are my cost of a car, and Y values would be cost of their home. Okay. So pay attention to units. Okay. Make sure you include, the label on what these arrows mean. What does this arrow mean? What does this arrow? Okay. All right, page 393. Yeah. Um, suppose the following values are listed. So which of these values can I make two? There's two answers for part A. So make sure you write both of them. Okay. Which value would be for an impossible event? Which values would be for an unusual event? Again, two answers for part F. Make sure you list both of them there as well. Okay. Um, my stuff printed in black and white, so uh yeah, don't worry about that. Okay, so hopefully everybody else's course back has is printed in color, just not mine. So page 394. So most of this is fine. The one thing I want to point out is be careful down here with and or, okay? When we're dealing with probability, and is the easy one. Okay, you just find out what the overlap is. Or you have to, first of all, it depends on whether it's disjoint or not disjoint. Okay, you can use the same formula regardless of whether it's disjoint or not disjoint. It's just that when it is disjoint, you're going to subtract 0. So really, you're just adding the two numbers together. But if it's not disjoint, you have to add up the total, add up the other total, and then subtract the overlap. Okay? So just remember that. All right. Page 396. Couple more pages and we'll jump in, we'll do some math. Throw a fair-sided die and then flip a coin. So really the order doesn't matter because you're multiplying or you're adding, but this is the first part of the experiment. This is the second part, right? So when you're building out your tree, you could do it either way. You could split it this way first and then do the dice, or you could do the dice first and then split it. You're going to end up with the same number of lines, so it's not really going to save you any time regardless of which one you do. So make sure you list the sample space. Don't forget to do that. So don't just create the tree. Uh, um, that's all fine. That's all fine. Yeah, okay. Uh, the next page is page 396. So for this one down here, compute the mean of the distribution and the standard deviation of the distribution. Uh, on page 232, there are three ways that we talk about computing a standard deviation, okay? One is if you have the raw data, okay? One is if you have a frequency distribution. And the third one is if you have probabilities, okay? And that is going to be method 3, okay? So if you get stuck on this one, definitely you want to talk with Elaine and I so that you're ready for it on test day, okay? All right, page 397. Um, Jeff, okay, so charity raffle being held. Okay, so find information about this on page 91. Also, 6.1 worksheet 3, okay, and the chapter 6 review worksheet that we worked on Wednesday, okay? So if you need hints on that, yeah. Oh, did I lose my? Did I lose my screen share? You guys, yeah,
Yeah,
I
now you
did.
did. Yeah,
There we go. Okay. You guys still able to see my screen?
no.
No, 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 no. Okay. Hold on.
There it is. Now it's there.
There it's there. Okay. All right, last page, page 398. Um, so this one, you find information on this on page 234, which is again in the yellow notes information. Okay. So quality control engineer calculates that the newest model of their computer sound card has a 6% chance of being defective. Suppose they randomly select 100 computer sound cards, and you're interested in how many sound cards are defective. We can presume this research qualifies as a binomial experiment. Okay, so find the following n. So n is how many that you did. Okay, n is the number. We have 100 cards that we grabbed. Okay, p is the probability, and the probability here is going to be 6%. We're going to write that as a decimal. So you would take your 6 and you move the decimal 2 places to the left. So you're going to get P is 0.06, right? Q, what is Q? Q is 1 minus P, okay? So if P is 6%, 100% minus 6 is 94%, okay? So 94%, again, we move the decimal 2 places, so 0.94, okay? S. S is not a number, neither is F. Okay, that's your successes. So you need to write that in words. Okay. X, what is X? X, there's a script for that. Okay. Okay. And then mu is standard is your mean. Sigma is your standard deviation. Okay. And these ones you actually, yes, these ones you do need numbers. Okay. And there's a formula for that, page 234. Okay. Compute the following probabilities. The probability that between 4 and 6 inclusive sound cards. So this over here in StatCrunch, okay, you'll do stat calc binomial, okay? Stat calc binomial, okay? And that's not going to need any of this data here, okay? You're going to enter the numbers that we gave you on the worksheet in order to calculate that. So that's for this one here, stat calc binomial. Okay. All right. All right. Let's jump in. Let's work on some stuff. So I'm going to stop my recording and